inertia. So, as would I say, is it Newton law? Would have it that a body will continue to move in the same direction until acted upon by an unbalanced force. That right there is a problem. You know, wanasemanga of the very many addictions that you can have in this life, you can have carbohydrates, heroin, and a monthly salary, and of them, carbohydrates, I guess, is a nightmare. If you really think about it, I guess this is a time in history where we have been the fattest. Yeah, I mean, this is a time in history where, like carbohydrates have really proved to be a problem. Like when you watch those movies, the Romance Empire sort of, you never see like, overweight people. It would appear that the modern problem is our mind is super stimulated, and our body is not. Like we're getting just so much information, so we are stimulated in the head, but the body is not stimulated. We are in era of boxes. You're riding to work or you're driving to work in a box. You are contained in that box for the rest of the day. You go back home, it's another box. You die, they put you in another box. It's all boxes, one after the other. Right, that is what we're talking about here. The problem I'm trying to wrestle with here is the problem of inertia. The mere fact that a body will remain at rest unless acted upon by a force. It's Newton's law, and one of the things you have to realize about science, you cannot differentiate it from like real life. It is happening to me. I mean, if I was to become a couch potato, a couch potato, by default, if I'm eating all right, in a couple of months, I'll have accumulated calories, and before you know it, the weighing scale is just all over the place. But it's very important that we really understand what are the consequences of inertia. Most people, in a sense, and I'm saying that speaking from own experience, we almost have not even like a feeling. You have just something like a voice in your head telling you that you kind of need to move or you need to do this and that. And in most cases, it involves changing your behavior in one way or another. But it is so hard, if you think about how hard it is, like even quitting your addictions, whether it's drugs, drinking it or not. Part of the problem is that problem that was outlined there by Newton. The problem that a body will remain at rest unless it is acted upon by another force. To mean that if you really want change, for instance, with the smoking habit, you have to act in opposite direction almost, like a pendulum, For the reaction, there has to be an action, so to speak, That is a very interesting mental model when you try to think about how to go about changes, in your life. It is good to appreciate the fact that, for a fact, there are going to be resistance. There need to be a force to move the bloody thing, right? I had to give this example, but imagine, and I'm going to use the carbohydrate problem, and I see it as a problem because it can happen to anyone, anyone, who doesn't work out. Given a long period of time, it's gonna be an issue, right? Now, I want you to think about how hard it is to stop a car, like a matatu, and how hard it is to stop a train. Probably mwenye anaendesha train, mwenye anaendesha gari la moshi, he will probably start braking, I don't know how many, maybe kilometers, to bring the whole train to a stop. But mtu wa matatu, can probably just do that, in a moment's notice. It doesn't take that long to bring the car to a halt. And that right there goes to show that, for a person who is overweight and do probably twice their, ideal weight, to reverse engineer the problem, is like the train coming to a halt. It's gonna take a longer period. And I hate to use this analogy, by the way, but it helps, I guess, in the problem I'm trying to wrestle with here. But the person who is lighter, perhaps losing it is not as hard. That goes to show that, the momentum, or rather the bigger the body mass, the more the force that is needed to bring it to a stop. The bigger the addictions, for instance, that you might have, or laziness, or perhaps procrastination, the bigger it is, the harder it is to bring that whole thing to a stop and, jump on into the next phase, or rather switch up your behavior and do something else. And it's exactly that with inertia. The bigger the ball lenye iko hapo, or if it's like a stone, like moving a really big stone, yeah, you're gonna need a lot of force, inertia. And that is very telling of what ideally perhaps you should go about, tackling changes. If it, for instance, you want to work on a very big project that you've been postponing for a long time, yeah, that resistance, depending on how big it is, it is going to be directly equivalent to the force that you're going to exert to overcome inertia, so that you can keep that body moving in a straight line until it is acted upon by another force. Just sort of sharing that today, it's a very interesting motor model to think about, inertia. It's physics, but it's a very interesting representation of how something works. And you can actually map it out onto your own life. For instance, I can map it, with my addictions, once in a while. But every time I know that it is times to have a behavior change, to change the habits, I'm always anticipating, the resistance and just trying to plan ahead on the kind of force that I need to tackle. That sort of inertia, that sort of, the body remaining at rest unless it is acted upon. Because if it is not, then the body stays at rest. The body stays overweight. You have to move it, right? And that right there is inertia. What do you think? I'll be interested to think what you think in the comment section. As I said, we'll keep doing the mental models, but at the same time, I'm doing pilots. Actually, it was a very interesting experience I had with one of the guests who's going to appear on the podcast. So it's going to be fun. A lot to talk about for sure. I'll see you on the next.